So I'm holding this pick with a classical guitar just to kind of demonstrate what we're going to talk about, which is thumb index technique. And it's kind of like using a pick in that we swing the wrist. For most right hand technique on classical guitar, you keep your hand rock steady. You don't swing it around, you know. And so this is a lot like strumming one string. Like if I just play like a C major scale, and you can see how freely I'm moving my wrist with this flat pick here. And that's what we're going to do with thumb and index is use our wrist to give us accent on the thumb. And that's the thing. The thumb is the heavier accent and the index is just a light lifting. So with these basic thumb index warm-ups 1, this sheet, we start with just the thumb. And you want to learn to catch the thumb kind of in between the two strings. Like I can feel the back of my thumb resting against the second string as I make contact with the first string. And I'm letting my thumb kind of give a little bit and kind of trail behind the hand, kind of like that. It's a lot like a banjo frailing technique where you strum down and then the thumb catches the string and comes up. I see that with banjo players, it's like, and so what we're doing is we're keeping the thumb, it's almost like the thumb sort of hits the string like it gets caught on the string and it kind of wants to stay there, and then you follow through. So you kind of just take your time, and then the second string, slice the string, third string, back to the second, now we're going to subdivide into eighth notes, but not fast, eighth notes. Exaggerating the accent. Index is very light. Now sixteenths. So as you get into faster rhythms, your hand will kind of bounce around a little bit. It's almost like a conductor conducting really short strokes, kind of like a pendulum. Keep the wrist kind of loose, and it's kind of like you're going down and up on the other side. Reminds me of those bicyclists that were in, like competitions, and they'd have this kind of thing where they dip down and then they come up and then they dip down again. It's kind of like that, but on a very small scale. And as you get going with it, as you get more comfortable with it, try to do some awkward string crossings that, like if you did this 8 times on the first string, P, I, P, I, and then P, I, P, I, crossing back a string. And awkward string crossings shouldn't be a problem if you're going out and swinging widely, because if you're going out with the thumb, you can come in with the index on any one of the 6 strings. Think of it like an airplane coming in on a runway. It's coming in the length of the runway. You wouldn't have an airplane coming in sideways into a runway, right? It would go into the length of the runway. And so that's the way you want to be with your, like I can skip back 4 strings. I can hit thumb on the first string and index on the 4th string. See? So as you get more used to it, it's a really useful technique to use in conjunction with the rest stroke, you know, for single notes. The rest stroke is very punchy, and the thumb index can be very light. Kind of silvery, but then you can accent not that you would always want to do that with a scale, but see? So it's a really useful technique that it's not a standard classical guitar technique like in the Segovia school or the Tarrega school. It's some Latin American guitarists have used thumb index for a long time, and some do thumb middle. You know, and that kind of makes sense because the middle finger kind of opposes the thumb very well. But because I'm a lute player, I do thumb index. I do it on the lute, thumb under, where you're doing the thumb under the index, like that, like but with the lute, you're hitting a pair of strings. They're courses, and lute players generally don't have nails, but you'll find that this technique really comes in handy, especially if you have to do a really quick run in the bass. See? And just suddenly hit a chord, and I'm just making something up, but it really comes in handy. And you can do like the same scale on the repeat of a section with thumb index much lighter than the first time you did it with heavy rest strokes, to give a variety of sound and interpretation. It really adds to your palette of technique, and I've found that thumb index has really gotten me out of a pinch where I couldn't do middle index quite fast enough. Because of the wrist, I can do thumb index as fast. I think I've gotten my middle index up to the same speed these days, but I'm not really a fast player anyway. But but I found that in some chamber music that I played, like the Beezer folk songs, there were certain little passages that were really quick, and thumb index just really saved my life, and especially in performance, in faculty recitals and such. But so it's a good technique. It's not a standard technique, but you'll find that it's kind of fun to do, because it's like strumming one string. So if you're strumming, and it's just very relaxed, and that's the way you want to do it. You don't want it to be stiff. You want to just swing to and fro. Really easy. So try this technique, thumb index, and start incorporating it. And it's always by the accent of the thumb. So if you had a figure where you had eighth note 2/16, like 1 and a 2 and a, it would be thumb, thumb index, thumb, thumb index. Because when you divide the eighth note into 2/16, the first of the pair is a little heavier than the second. And so the thumb always chooses the heavier accent. Not that they're really heavy accents, but music always has accents. And when you do triplets, usually it's thumb, index, thumb, thumb, index, thumb. So you often do two thumbs in a row, depending on the figure of the rhythm, like that eighth and 2/16. So often if you have a long note and then you break into 16ths or eighth notes, you'll do P, P, I, P, I, P, I. Okay? So always do it by the accent. Be aware of rhythm in the accenting. Accenting is much like the way we accent syllables when we speak. We don't think about it when we're talking, but we're always accenting different syllables. And that's the same thing with music. You want to be aware of those accents. Very, very important. Okay, have fun with this. All right, thank you. And don't forget to subscribe, John Hedger Guitar Studio, on YouTube and Facebook. Like my Facebook page, John Hedger Guitar Studio. Thank you.